It is 8 o'clock, and here are our top stories in 90 seconds.
We'd been there for about 40 minutes when we were turned away.
Coloradans with confirmed vaccine appointments are turned away at the last second.
When I went back online, there were no appointments available for any other slots anywhere that I could find.
Tonight, Contact Denver7 looks into claims that some vaccine events are overbooking, giving people false hope of getting their shot. It's the party scene across the country. A Saturday night quickly turns into chaos at CU Boulder.
When it was pulled in, it was immediately surrounded, and immediately it was pelted with bottles, rocks, and bricks.
Now police are promising to hold people accountable. A guilty verdict, more than 8 years in the making.
We're very, very thankful for this outcome. But in the end, I didn't get Kelsey back.
Kelsey Schelling's murderer will serve life in prison, but for her mother, it is a bittersweet moment. Plus, jury selection begins in the morning for the trial of the officer seen on video kneeling on George Floyd's neck. What we can expect moving forward. And street racers bring a Denver Metro highway to a standstill.
Very concerning, right? We're angry, our community's angry, and we want to find the ones responsible for this.
Good Monday evening, and thank you for watching Denver7 News on Local 3. I'm JACLYN Allen. We start with breaking news tonight in Douglas County. The Board of County Commissioners will introduce a petition tomorrow to fully reopen the county. Commissioners cite a decreasing number of COVID infections and hospitalizations. They want to lift all restrictions and allow residents to exercise personal responsibility as to how they want to be protected. But at the end of the day, it would be up to the state and Tri-County Health Department to make that decision. The county resolution would just prevent businesses from facing any county repercussions. For Coloradans eligible for COVID vaccines, landing an appointment is like finding a golden ticket. But what if that golden ticket isn't accepted then? Tonight, Contact Denver7 is getting answers for local residents who were turned away at the last minute at vaccine clinics this weekend. Here's Addie Guajardo.
Keeping up with the COVID-19 vaccine demand is nearly impossible.
I was a bit frustrated.
And nailing an appointment takes time and patience.
5 March at 2:30.
Dave CODDINGTON and his wife arrived early for their appointment.
We'd been there for about 40 minutes.
They scheduled their shots through Safeway to get vaccinated at a pop-up clinic at Lockheed Martin in Littleton.
Volunteers came down the road and told us that they'd run out of supply and that they weren't doing any more vaccinations.
Dozens of people eager to get their shots were turned away.
There must have been 50 or 100 cars behind us and several in front of us. Those people needed to get their vaccines too.
Denver7 reached out to Safeway. A spokesperson tells us they unintentionally overbooked vaccine appointments at 2 clinics over the weekend. Between Friday and Saturday, Safeway overbooked 250 appointments. The email reads, "We recognized this mistake on Friday, corrected the error, and contacted and apologized to these patients immediately and rescheduled appointments for this week."
I didn't get a notification.
He says the biggest frustration was the lack of information to reschedule an appointment.
I just wanted to know what next steps were.
The encounter makes him worry about people with less accessibility to the internet and less flexibility to access a clinic.
Just be wary of over-promising because it can lead to frustration and dropout.
After Contact Denver7 stepped in and shared Dave's information with a Safeway spokesperson, they rescheduled Dave and his wife to get their shot. Addie Guajardo, Denver7.
3 cases of the so-called South African variant have been detected here in Colorado. 2 are staff at Buena Vista Correctional Center. The 3rd is an inmate, and the state health department says it was at the prison today to ramp up testing. They'll be meeting with families this week. The South African variant is considered more contagious than the strain of COVID we've grown so accustomed to over the last year. It's also proven more resistant to vaccines. Variant concerns aside, the CDC says people who've had their shots should feel free to mingle with their unvaccinated family members. In other words, you can finally hug grandma again. CDC also says fully vaccinated people can spend time indoors together. So if you're exposed to coronavirus, well, unless you're showing symptoms, there is no need to quarantine or even be tested. But parties like this one will not make public health officials any more ready to lift restrictions. A huge party Saturday night at CU Boulder turned into a riot when police were called in to break it up. New tonight at 8, police released these pictures of suspects caught contributing to the chaos. Police say they received close to 1,000 tips since Saturday. Cars were flipped over and damaged, including the police department's armored rescue truck.
When it was pulled in, it was immediately surrounded, and immediately it was pelted with bottles, rocks, and bricks.
Now, police have not yet made any arrests, but the chief says they will once they identify those suspects. Tonight, a sense of closure for the family of Kelsey Schelling. More than 8 years after she disappeared during a trip to visit her boyfriend in Pueblo, a guilty verdict. Dante Lucas was convicted of first-degree murder today for Kelsey's death. And as Denver7's Liz Gilardi reports, it's a bittersweet moment for Kelsey's mom.
This is a guilty verdict 8 years in the making, and it's still hard to believe for the family of Kelsey Schelling. Her mom didn't know if this case would ever go to trial, but she has always believed Dante Lucas ended her pregnant daughter's life. Jury deliberations didn't last long this afternoon. Lucas was found guilty of first-degree murder. Schelling was 21 years old and 8 weeks pregnant when she drove from Denver to Pueblo to meet up with him. That's the last time anyone saw her alive, February 4th, 2013. The prosecution said today justice was served. In court, they laid out a case that included a troubled relationship with a history of domestic violence. Surveillance video and cell phone records also proved to be critical. Even though Schelling disappeared in 2013, Lucas was not charged with her murder until 2017, so it's been a long journey for this family.
I'm sorry, right now I just honestly don't know what to say. I'm just so overcome by everything. But we're just very thankful. There were times I thought we would never get to trial. That's how dire things seemed. But I just didn't want to give up. I couldn't give up on Kelsey. I just couldn't.
The guilty verdict is bittersweet because Schelling has never been found. Her mom said although she is thankful for the verdict, she wants nothing more than to bring her daughter home and give her a proper burial. In the newsroom, I'm Liz Gilardi.
The trial is approaching for the former Minneapolis police officer seen on video kneeling on George Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. Floyd died, and the images sparked outrage and protests all around the world. Jury selection for Derek Chauvin's trial is likely to start tomorrow. It was delayed today while the judge awaited word on whether prosecutors can bring back a third-degree murder charge. Chauvin is already facing second-degree murder and manslaughter and is being tried separately from the other officers. Opening statements are scheduled March 29th. We will have gavel-to-gavel coverage of this trial from our colleagues at Court TV. Tonight, Denver City Council approved several resolutions in hopes of helping Denverites in need. First, the City Council approved $2.7 million for rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. This money will specifically help low-income individuals and families affected by HIV. City Council also approved 2 resolutions aimed at helping people experiencing homelessness. In total, more than $15 million in new contracts were approved. Those contracts would provide much-needed housing, shelter, and other services. They include some of the first expenses from the new Homelessness Resolution Fund that was approved by voters back in November.
It's very concerning, right? We're angry, our community's angry, and we want to find the ones responsible for this.
Street racers shut down the highway, potentially putting lives at risk.
People trying to get to Children's Hospital and shoots, right? There's that cancer center, there's a medical center of Aurora just down the way, right? You could cost that person their life.
As police work to find those responsible, they're facing new criticism from Aurora's mayor.
Beautiful warm day today, but there's a big change. How much snow to expect by the end of the week?
And coming up later, new reaction to the interview that sent shockwaves through the royal family.
There is a conversation. Hold up.
There's several conversations.
There's a conversation with you,
with Harry,
about how dark your baby is going to be.